I also have a similar case. There was a child who kept hearing the sound of a dog barking at home. When we went downstairs, we realized that it wasn't a dog, but something very strange. Its body was that of a dog, but its face was that of an uncle, and from the uncle's mouth came a woof 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 sound. Apparently, it seemed like someone wanted to harm them, so they put this entity in their house. Welcome back to Mr. Dalfa. Today we'll answer questions from the audience. Especially when children encounter supernatural events, as parents or family members, how should you help them face this issue? Should you go to a temple to find someone for help or take them to see a doctor? So, today I will help answer these questions for you. So the first question sent in by a viewer is about their child at home. Recently they've been seeing so-called ghosts or some shadowy figures walking back and forth in front of the main door. And then they invited a master to take a look, and the master told them that the entrance seems to have a heavier yin energy. So if they want to fix this problem so that their child won't see ghosts anymore, they need to set up a shrine at home. Ideally, they should worship some deities at home. But this audience member asked, hey, they've already put a Bagua mirror at their door, so do they really still need to set up a deity? Because they said they're actually quite busy and don't have time to worship. Also, some people in the family don't believe in Taoism, so what should you do? If you have a Bagua mirror at home, the Bagua mirror itself can already provide a certain level of protection against evil, but it depends on what kind of Bagua mirror you're talking about. Because some Bagua mirrors have what's called concave and convex, right? One type makes your reflection bigger and the other makes your reflection smaller. They each have different functions. So there's a saying that ghosts are afraid of ghosts that are fiercer or bigger than themselves. So that kind of Bagua mirror can turn what it reflects into something bigger that can ward off evil, because the ghost will see itself in the mirror and think there's a bigger ghost in your house, so it'll run away. But if you say it reflects things to make them smaller, that is usually used for attracting energy. So if you want better, maybe wealth or something like that, people usually choose that kind of mirror. But on the Bagua mirror itself, it has the so-called Bagua, the Bagua symbol. To some extent, it really can ward off evil, because ghosts are afraid when they see the Bagua. If there's no one at home who can take care of the altar, I don't recommend setting up a deity at home. It's better for you to go to the temple to pray, or get a talisman from the temple and stick it on your door. That's better than setting up a deity at home. Because, like this viewer said, setting up an altar is actually very expensive. Yes, it is expensive, and it also takes a lot of effort. If you don't have time to take care of it, it's actually not good either. When you consecrate it but don't make offerings, that's not good. At that time, the deity, the statue, after it loses its spiritual energy, there might be even more problems. Also, if you're asking whether there are other ways to solve it, actually there are. If the yin energy there is quite strong, you can invite a master or a Taoist priest to your home to perform a simple cleansing ritual to raise the energy of the whole place. Also, at your door or inside your house, you can set up some protective barriers or put up some talismans there. These can all help ward off evil. And most importantly, since your child can see ghosts, I suggest that if he is sensitive and keeps seeing them, you can take him to a temple or come to us to do a simple sealing ritual. This will close off his ability so he won't be affected by the spiritual world. For him, how should I put it? His physical and mental health will be better. Otherwise, seeing ghosts every day is pretty scary. Yeah. Let's move on to the second question. For the second question, an audience member asked that their child belongs to a special needs group, and since childhood, the child has been able to see some supernatural things. At home, the child always sees an old aunt, an old lady, and she walks around. Sometimes she plays with him, talks to him, and things like that. Then, this audience member said that sometimes things at home would mysteriously fall down by themselves, and the sensor lights in the house would turn on by themselves. Is this kind of thing okay, or does it mean there are so-called ghosts in the house? If there are ghosts in the house, will it affect the family's positive energy or will it cause any harm to them? From the way I see this question, I have a feeling that she might actually be your son's guardian spirit, not necessarily a ghost. Yeah, because she makes your child happy and she also spends time with him, you know? Honestly, your child isn't afraid of her or feels like she's going to harm him or anything like that. So she might actually be quietly protecting your child. And if she only appears in your house, it's possible that she's the guardian spirit of your home. So sometimes when she makes things fall or the lights turn on by themselves, she might just be reminding you to pay attention to certain things or that there's something you need to notice. I think that if nothing has happened in your house so far, if your work and health haven't been affected, then you don't need to worry. Hey, this actually reminds me, I used to have a case like this. There was a child, and this child would always talk to someone, but the parents couldn't see who it was. And then she had a son, right? He told his mom that there was a little sister who kept talking to him. And this little sister looked a lot like his mom. She was startled, and later they brought in a master. They discovered her son had been talking to this little sister, who was actually her first aborted child. Yeah, so this is the strange part here. Sometimes we think that aborted children might come back for revenge or something like that. But maybe because of some karmic reasons, her aborted daughter didn't harm the family. Instead, she became a guardian spirit for her son. She would always be by his side, playing with him and protecting him. But in the end, we still helped her move on. Because, this kind of spirit, after all, she was aborted, so if she stays with a living person for too long, it will more or less have some effect. But if you're talking about a local deity, that's a totally different level. A local deity is considered a kind of god, so she actually wouldn't harm you. If you worship her at home, it might actually be better for your son. Okay, the third question from our audience. I actually think this one is pretty interesting. So, their baby, at night while sleeping, suddenly got startled awake. Then the baby kept crying and cried for 2 hours without stopping. Then later, some friends suggested that they could cleanse the baby's room, like they could cleanse the toys and the bed where the baby sleeps. Because maybe, something unclean got in there. So they went to get some help, and after that, the baby slept more peacefully. And then this audience member said that actually, earlier that morning, their baby saw a funeral. So maybe there was a bit of a clash. So his question is, do these external so-called events, can they affect a child's sleep and their energy in a way? So if you encounter this kind of problem, how should you properly handle it? This is actually really interesting because I think a lot of people, a lot of parents, worry about their children running into these kinds of things, bumping into something supernatural or what we call negative energy. So what should you do? You can't take them to the temple every time, and you can't always go find a master for help. Actually, there are some folk methods that you can use to solve it yourself. A simple way is to bathe with flower water. We take 7 different colored flowers, put them in a basin of water, and then use that to bathe the child. This is the first method. Some people use pomelo leaves or pomegranate leaves, put them in water and bathe their children with it. That works too. The third method is, if you have cinnabar at home, if you have a shrine at home, usually after a blessing ceremony, the brush used for cinnabar is placed in the incense burner. You can take that brush out, dip it in a little water, and dot it on your child's forehead. This also works because cinnabar has a calming effect. The fourth method is to take a piece of joss paper, which you can buy anywhere, called Da Bai Ji. It's a large sheet with many different talismans and symbols on it. Anyway, it's called Da Bai Ji, which means it can resolve all kinds of issues. Next, write your child's name and birthday on it. Then, symbolically sweep it over your child a few times and burn it. That's all you need to do. You can use Gairen paper if you don't have Da Bai Ji. Don't think of the Gairen paper as just a red sheet. Look closer and you'll find much more inside. The Gairen paper contains the Gairen itself. It also has the Baijai talisman inside, so you also need to fill in the information, wave it around, and then burn it. That will be fine. If a child cries for no reason, suddenly has strange dreams, or gets sick and doesn't recover, those weird situations where you feel something is off, not normal, a bit not logical, right? You can use these methods to help them. Just do a little ritual. Usually, if it really is a supernatural event or they've bumped into some bad energy, after you do these things, they'll be fine the next day. Okay, so actually the fourth and fifth questions are kind of similar. Both of these questions from the audience are about how to deal with things after an abortion. So there's one audience member, after her abortion, whenever she thinks of her child, she feels a buzzing in her head. This is something to be careful about. It's usually due to a spirit or supernatural presence wanting attention or repayment. So if we really have no choice but to have an abortion, how should we handle this? How can we resolve the karma from it? First, I want to say that bad karma, as we call it, cannot be completely eliminated. Yeah, once you've done it, it's already done. It's not like you can just pray and then your bad karma will be erased. There's no such thing. Bad karma, once it's done, it's done. What we can do now is just to atone for our sins in a way, to repent, and then continue to do good deeds so that our good merits outweigh our bad karma. So what should you do? Actually, if you believe in Buddhism or Taoism, both have what are called transcendence ceremonies. I suggest that you hold a transcendence ceremony for the children you aborted. That would be better. Because, especially for children, they're not like adults. They haven't been born yet, so they don't really know what society is like, and they don't know language either. Sometimes speaking sincerely to them makes you feel guilty. You feel guilty and apologize to him, but he doesn't get it. So sometimes you still need a bit of divine power, or what we call the rituals that monks use to help the departed soul move on to a better place. Hey, otherwise I'm not trying to scare anyone, but in many cases you see, especially with girls or boys who are around 15 or 10 years old, she comes to us and says that her life in this world has been very difficult. And then no matter what she does, nothing goes smoothly, and no matter how much she prays, things don't get better. Then if you ask her, hey, have you ever had an abortion or something like that? Usually 80% of the time, it's this kind of situation. It's an abortion case. Even if the spirit doesn't come to trouble you, sometimes it will go and trouble your children later on. So what I'm saying is, since you've already had the abortion, then let's just make some amendments, okay? Yeah, it's better to do a ritual for her, to give her some merit, so she can reincarnate. Also let her understand that in this life, you don't have a connection with her, so she shouldn't be attached anymore. It would be better for her to reincarnate and find a better family. So what should we the living do? Once it's over, don't regret it. I know it's tough and you'll feel some regret. But you can't bring her back to life, right? And you can't undo your choice either. So all you can do is remember her, and if you have the ability, do some good deeds in her name. Yeah, accumulate some merit for her, and also don't let yourself fall into this kind of situation again. Yeah, I know some abortions are unavoidable, because sometimes you really can't afford it financially, yeah. Then you should consider it. Like my master said, if you know you don't have money, then don't have kids. Just, yeah, do your protection properly. But sometimes there's just nothing you can do, yeah. Then I think that's the beauty of Taoism. Like we say, whether it's Taoism or Buddhism, the wonderful thing about it is that even if you've done something wrong, we still have ways to help the living, help those who have passed away, and help those children who were aborted. So don't worry too much yet. The past is gone. Just focus on what we can do now and stop worrying about it. Okay, the next question is also about abortion. Wow, a lot of people have abortions. So, she asked, she already has a child now. And she had an abortion before, and now sometimes her child, whether at home or elsewhere, seems to be talking to another child. So she's a bit worried, wondering if her child is talking to the one she aborted. As I said earlier, it's possible. I've seen this before. See for yourself and draw your own conclusions. There was this guy I knew. I didn't know he had an abortion. But when I met him, I kept seeing that when he walked, there was something under his feet, like a bundle holding onto his legs as he walked. Just holding onto his legs as he walked along. Then I was wondering, what is that? It was blue, a bluish color. I was curious about what it was, and one day I looked closely and realized, hey, it was a baby. So I wondered, why is there a baby clinging to him? I thought maybe he went on an adventure or something and got entangled with this baby. Later I asked him, hey bro, have you had an abortion before, like maybe your wife or someone had an abortion? Then he said, no, I don't have. So I was like, oh, okay. So after I got to know him better and got closer to him, I still saw it. So I told him, hey bro, are you sure you don't have a child? Like you never had a child aborted? He said, I don't know. And then he started searching and looking for answers. I told him what I saw. Then a few years later, he found out that it was actually true. He had gone to, those kinds of prostitutes. Then there was a child, and the prostitute aborted the child, right? So that ghost, his ghost, kept following him, which is why it kept holding on to him. He found out because years later his leg developed problems. It would hurt unexpectedly, he'd suddenly fall, or something else would happen. He kept having bad luck, always in the same spot. Then he went to find Donkey to ask about it. At that time, he went to see that Duoya Baya Donkey, and Duoya Baya Donkey told him that there was something like this. He said, in which country did the prostitute abort the child? After that, he realized it was true. Yeah, so if you abort a child, it's possible that the spirit might follow your living children. It's possible. I don't know what it wants to do to your kids now. If it's friendly, then it's okay, nothing will happen. But I'm worried that maybe it's pretending to be friendly, yeah, and then it might want to cause some trouble. You may not know them, but I always suggest performing a ritual to help them move on. Just do that for them. So, a viewer asked if it's true that spirits or ghosts can communicate more easily with children. We have this idea that children are more pure, they don't have the worries that adults do. So, their communication with the spirit world might be clearer. So how can parents or family members tell if a child is really sensitive or if they can actually see things? Wow. That's really hard to say, because if you can't see and your child keeps saying they can see ghosts, it's really difficult. But you can try and error. You can use a scientific approach to test it. Well, usually I think it's easy to tell. If a place is really eerie and if the child can really see things, they would know what happened there. But if they're just making things up, you'll probably know. Like if today they say they saw a clown ghost, maybe it's because they watched a movie about that yesterday. Or if they say they saw a female ghost, yeah, maybe they watched a YouTube show about Pontianak yesterday. Yeah, so you'll see, they'll just say whatever they see. So you can pretty much tell if they're just making things up or imagining it. But if suddenly, for no reason, they say something like, oh, there's this thing at home, and then describe what it does to them, and later it turns out to be true, like someone really did die here before, then that's different. Then after that, when he enters the house, he says, hey, there's someone in this house, there's something hanging there. So you basically know he's telling the truth. I mean, if you have those relatives or kids who really see ghosts before you go to see the house or whatever, right? They will say some really scary things because it's very eerie. Very eerie. It's impossible to just imagine it. You can pretty much tell if something is imagined. Yeah, so after trying and testing for a while, you'll know. Or if you want, you can find someone who can see ghosts and have them hang out with your kid for a bit. Then you can confirm it. Because if there really are ghosts there and both of them see it, okay, that's confirmation. Yeah, they really can see them. Yeah, you can try it this way. Okay, so today we've come to the last question. For the last question, well, the story is about his child, his son, who has been able to see things since he was young. He always says that in his room there's a presence. There's someone there. but it's not really a person. He even describes it as something like a dog, like there's a dog over there. At first he was actually very scared. At night he would cry out and complain about this ghost dog, but now he's okay with it. He said the strange thing is, he has a dog at home now, but it won't go in that room and always barks at that corner. And then many years later, his son saw a photo of his parents, this audience member's dog that had already passed away, and he said, "Ah, that's the dog." So now this audience member is asking, is it possible that after a pet passes away, it could become something like a guardian spirit and protect the people in your family? I would say yes, definitely. Because if you have a deep bond with your pet, after it passes away, it will continue to bless and protect your family. In many cases, if you work in the pet industry, especially dealing with pets that have passed away, you'll find that it's not just humans who have spirits. Animals also have their own spiritual forms. And some pet owners, after their pets have passed away, still see their pets at home, or sometimes they might even hear their deceased pets making sounds in the house. They might become guardian spirits and keep protecting the family. But to make it a bit scarier, right? When I was reading this question, it reminded me of a case I had before, which I thought was quite scary. Because at first I also had a similar case, where a child kept hearing the sound of a dog barking at home and thought there was a dog in the house. Later, when we checked, we realized it wasn't a dog. It was still something really strange and weird. Even now, I still don't know what it was. It was like an uncle mixed with a dog, a really weird creature. I would call it a monster. Its body was that of a dog, but its face was an uncle's face, and from that uncle's mouth came woof 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 sounds. That's what it was like. Even now, I still don't know what it was. And, hey, I don't know what that thing was, but apparently it seemed like someone wanted to mess with them, so they sent this entity to their house. But because they discovered it early, they removed it. Hey, but no, I think your case probably isn't like that. After all these years, nothing has happened to your child, so it should be a guardian spirit. Yeah, maybe he just wanted to watch your child grow up, and now that your child has grown up, he might have left, okay? Okay, so today we've come to the end. We've answered some of your questions. Actually, like I said earlier, children are quite pure. Also, when they're born, because their bodies aren't fully developed yet, their souls are unstable. And for some children, when they're born, their orifices haven't fully closed yet, so to some extent, their connection with the spiritual world is a bit stronger. But you don't need to worry. As parents, we don't need to worry. Because this kind of problem usually goes away as they grow up. They won't be able to see it or feel it anymore. Well, but if he still has these feelings when he grows up, you still don't need to worry. There will always be solutions. At that time, it's like going to see a doctor. You can come to us Taoists or go to a master for help, and we can resolve it for you. If it's resolved and he's still not well, if he can still see those things, then usually this child might be a bit special. He might have some kind of mission to accomplish. Then you just have to take good care of him. Usually, and I want to remind you, children who are closer to the spiritual world tend to be more sensitive, so you really need to pay attention to their mental health. This is a trend I've observed, so that's it. Don't worry, everything is fine. That's all. Bye-bye.